Welcome to our deep dive. We're really so glad you're joining us for this conversation today.
Absolutely. It is great to be here.
Because, we live in a world, really a culture that constantly preaches a very specific, very loud message to us.
Buy now, pay later.
Right. Buy now, pay later. It is literally everywhere you look. I mean, from the billboard on the highway to the ads on your social media feed to the financing offers at the furniture store.
Yeah, they make it look so easy.
They really do. Taking on debt for cars, taking out massive student loans, carrying rolling balances on credit cards. It's been completely 100% normalized in our society.
It's just expected.
It is. Most people just assume that having a car payment and a credit card bill is, I don't know, like gravity. It's just a permanent, unavoidable part of life. You go to school, you get a job, you get a car payment.
And you just pay it forever.
Exactly. But what many people don't realize about money is that financial freedom isn't just about dollars and cents. It's fundamentally about biblical stewardship.
Yeah.
When you are trapped in debt, it creates this heavy cloud of discouragement over your family.
Yeah.
And frankly, it severely limits your ability to be radically generous.
That's such a vital perspective to start with because it really frames everything we are going to talk about today. As believers, we have to recognize that God entrusts us with resources for a very specific purpose. He provides for us so that we can care for our families, so we can support His work,
Right.
and so we can be a blessing to others. But when a massive portion of your monthly income is legally tied up in payments to lenders, the bank, the credit card company, the auto dealership, your ability to steward those gifts is drastically diminished.
Yeah, your hands are tied before the month even begins.
Completely tied. The money is already spoken for.
So our mission for this deep dive today is to give you proven, practical, and highly biblical steps to break those chains of debt. We want to help you regain control of your household finances so you can faithfully steward God's resources.
Because we want to see you living with peace and purpose.
Exactly. So if someone is listening to this right now, and they're feeling that heavy cloud of stress you just mentioned, what is the spiritual reality we need to confront first?
Yeah.
Because Proverbs 22.7 is incredibly clear on this.
It really is.
It says the borrower is servant to the lender.
Yeah. It's a profound spiritual reality that we see playing out in people's lives every single day. If we look at why this matters, debt fundamentally limits your freedom. It creates immense emotional and spiritual strain.
Oh, the strain is so real.
Just think about the tension it causes in a marriage. The arguments over spending, the sleepless nights staring at the ceiling.
That knot in your stomach when you walk out to the mailbox.
Yes, because there's another past due notice waiting for you in there. The stress of financial obligations is a massive distraction. It distracts believers from their true calling because instead of waking up and asking, Lord, how can I serve you today? Who can I bless? You're waking up in a cold sweat asking, how am I going to make the minimum payment on this Visa card before Friday?
I have seen that exact scenario play out, and it's just heartbreaking. This is why so many families struggle financially without a clear, disciplined plan. The burden of debt slowly crushes a family's peace of mind.
It really does. It chips away at your joy.
It chips away at your joy. And we really have to look at this from a leadership angle, too, because this is especially critical for church leaders, for pastors, and for Christian families who are called to model faithfulness to their communities.
Right.
If we are called to lead, don't we need to be modeling wise stewardship in our own homes first?
Leadership is about setting an example. It's very difficult to stand up in front of a congregation or, say, a Sabbath school class and speak authentically about trusting God with your whole life.
Yeah.
When behind closed doors, your financial life is being dictated by MasterCard.
Wow. Yeah, that hits hard.
The credibility of our witness is deeply tied to how we handle the resources we've been given. But the beautiful thing here is that there is a way out. It takes work, it takes discipline, but there is a clear, proven path.
So if a family is listening to this and they are just ready to change their family tree, where do they literally begin? I know we talk a lot about baby steps. I assume there is a specific framework here.
There is, and it's designed to build momentum. The framework is broken down into baby steps because trying to fix everything all at once usually leads to failure.
Get overwhelmed.
Exactly. So, baby step 1 is laying the vital groundwork. Before you can aggressively attack your debt, you need a small starter emergency fund in place.
Okay.
We usually recommend around $1,000 or whatever covers a basic, unexpected crisis for your specific situation.
Wait, just $1,000?
Just $1,000.
That doesn't seem like enough to cover a major job loss or a massive medical event.
Yeah.
Why not build up 3 to 6 months of expenses first before tackling the debt.
Because the goal right now isn't ultimate security. The goal is a buffer against Murphy's Law.
Okay, explain that.
You need this starter fund because life is going to throw curveballs at you while you're trying to pay off your debt. The alternator in the minivan is going to die, or the hot water heater is going to burst.
Right.
If you don't have a small cash buffer sitting in the bank, what happens?
You go right back to using the credit card.
You go right back to the credit card to survive. The starter emergency fund turns a crisis into a mere inconvenience. It breaks the cycle of relying on debt to fix your problems.
That makes a lot of sense. So we save up the $1,000, we put it in a savings account, and we don't touch it unless the house is literally on fire or the car breaks down. What happens next?
Once that starter fund is in place, we move to the main event, which is baby step 2.
All right.
This is the aggressive, targeted elimination of all your consumer debt. We are talking about credit cards, personal loans, car loans, medical bills, and student loans.
Everything.
Everything. The only thing you leave out of this step is your primary home mortgage. But, and this is where I have to introduce a piece of advice that often surprises people.
Okay, I'm bracing myself.
During the specific season of paying off consumer debt, we strongly recommend temporarily pausing all of your retirement investing.
Okay, let's unpack this because I can hear the collective gasp of our listeners right now. Pause retirement.
Pause it all.
Any financial advisor is going to tell you that leaving a company match on the table is basically throwing away free money.
Yeah.
And what about compound interest?
Yeah.
We are always told that the earlier you invest, the better. Are you sure that's wise to just stop completely?
It is the most common pushback we get. And yes, mathematically, leaving a company match on the table hurts a little bit.
It hurts a lot.
I know. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, the logic becomes very clear. By pausing your investments temporarily, and I really want to emphasize the word temporarily here.
Right.
Every single available dollar in your budget can be hyper-focused on eliminating your debt quickly. You are concentrating all your financial firepower on one single target.
So what does this all mean for the timeline then? If I pause my investments, am I doing this for 5 or 10 years?
No, and that's the key. This is supposed to be a short, intense season, usually 12 to 24 months.
Okay.
If you're trying to pay off debt while also funding your 401k, saving for your kids' college, and paying extra on the mortgage, your effort is entirely diluted.
You're spread too thin.
You're moving 5 different needles a tiny fraction of an inch, and you never see real progress. By hitting pause on the investments, you bring a massive shovel to the problem.
Oh, I like that. A massive shovel.
Once the consumer debt is gone, the income that was previously being eaten alive by monthly car payments and credit card minimums is suddenly freed up. With no payments holding you back, you can rapidly build up your full emergency fund, restart your investments with even more force than before, and most importantly, you actually have the cash flow to give incredibly generously.
I hear you. It's about singular focus. So how do we actually attack this debt? Let's say I have a medical bill, a couple of credit cards, and a massive student loan. Is there a specific method, or do I just throw money at whatever is bothering me the most that month?
You need a structured attack plan. The strategy we use is called the debt snowball method.
The debt snowball. Okay, how does that work?
Here is the mechanic of how it works. Step 1, you list all of your debts from the smallest balance to the largest balance, regardless of the interest rate.
Okay, regardless of interest rate.
Step 2, you make the minimum payments on everything except that smallest debt. Step 3, you take every single extra dollar you can find in your budget from pausing your retirement, cutting expenses, or working extra, and you throw it at that smallest debt until it is completely gone.
Every extra dollar.
Every single one. And finally, step 4, you take the money you were paying on that finished debt and you roll it into the minimum payment of the next smallest debt, and you repeat the process.
So like a snowball rolling down a hill.
Exactly. It picks up mass and speed.
Okay, I have to stop you there again because there is always a huge debate between the math and the mindset on this one. People look at this method and ask, why on earth would I pay off a small medical bill that has 0 interest before I pay off a credit card that is charging me 24% interest?
Right.
Mathematically, wouldn't ordering the debts by the highest interest rate save me money over the long haul?
It absolutely would. Mathematically, you are 100% correct.
Now,
but what's fascinating here is that if we look at human behavior, getting out of debt is rarely just a math problem.
yeah.
Look, we humans aren't calculators. If we were purely logical creatures driven by math, we wouldn't be in debt in the first place, right?
That's a very fair point.
The math says don't borrow money at 24% interest to buy a flat-screen TV or go on a vacation. But we do it because we want comfort, or we had a hard day, or we want to provide an experience for our kids. Debt is fundamentally an emotional and behavioral problem.
That is painfully true. We spend emotionally.
Exactly. Which means the solution has to tap into our emotions too. The debt snowball works so effectively because it provides quick wins. When you pay off that first $300 medical bill or that small department store credit card, you get a rush of accomplishment. You see the balance hit zero, you cross it off your list, and it creates momentum.
You feel like you're actually doing it.
It creates hope. That early victory builds the emotional motivation and the discipline you need to stay committed for the long haul. Because let's face it, when you're eventually tackling a $50,000 student loan, it's going to take time.
Yeah, a lot of time.
If you start with the massive loan just because the interest rate is higher, you might throw money at it for 6 months, barely see the balance move, get discouraged, and quit. The quick wins keep you in the game.
Hope really is the ultimate currency when you're getting out of debt.
Yeah.
When you actually see a balance disappear, you start to believe that you can do this. You start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But to really make this work, to get through the entire snowball, you have to change your entire mindset. There is a powerful biblical metaphor for this in Proverbs 6:4-5.
I love this passage.
It says, "Give no sleep to your eyes, nor slumber to your eyelids. Deliver yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, and like a bird from the hand of the fowler." Imagine a gazelle being chased by a cheetah on the African savanna.
Yeah.
The gazelle isn't casually jogging. It isn't taking a water break. It is running for its absolute life. It is entirely focused on survival because it knows it's about to be eaten.
This is where discipline and planning become powerful. We often call this gazelle intensity. It requires absolute urgency and a dedicated season of sacrifice. You have to treat your debt like the emergency it actually is.
Because it is an emergency.
You're being hunted by the cheetah of debt, and you have to run.
I want to validate that because it sounds incredibly intense. What does this intensity look like practically for a Christian family, especially within a lifestyle that values modesty, stewardship, and keeping the Sabbath? Because in our culture, a lot of our socializing revolves around spending money.
It is incredibly difficult, and it means you are making significant temporary sacrifices that might make you look a little weird to your friends and extended family.
Right.
Practically, it means going through your garage, your attic, and your closets and selling unused possessions. It means parting with that expensive set of golf clubs that's been gathering dust for 3 years.
Selling everything that's not bolted down.
Basically, yeah. It means sitting down on Sunday morning and making a strict family meal plan for the week. You are cooking at home, eating lots of beans and rice, and enjoying simple, wholesome meals together.
The dreaded rice and beans. It sounds like torture to some people, but it frees up so much cash. I mean, casually spending $50 or $100 eating out at restaurants a couple of times a week will absolutely destroy a budget.
It really will.
And I think about the social pressure, too. Think about Saturday night, the Sabbath hours have passed, the sun is down, and you get a text from your friend saying, "Hey, we're all going out to that new restaurant downtown. You guys want to come?"
Oh, that happens all the time.
Having gazelle intensity means having the courage to say, "We'd love to see you, but we are on a strict budget right now. Why don't you guys come over to our place for dessert instead?"
That is a perfect example. And what's beautiful is how this intensity actually aligns with our faith practices. Think about preparing for the Sabbath. Instead of feeling the pressure to go out and spend money on entertainment to relax, you find joy in the rest God has provided. You make a lovely home-cooked meal on Friday afternoon before the sun sets. You spend Sabbath afternoon taking a long walk in nature with your family, studying your Bible, or visiting the sick. Those activities cost absolutely nothing, but they provide immense spiritual and relational wealth. Gazelle intensity might also mean taking on extra work for a season, picking up a side job, tutoring, or doing freelance work in the evenings. And through it all, this must be a season of deep prayer. We must trust in God, knowing He cares deeply about how we manage His resources.
I love how you tied that back to the Sabbath. It shifts the focus from what we are missing out on to what we are actually gaining. But I want to anchor this in reality. Because I know the math can sound abstract to someone staring at a mountain of bills. Does this actually work for real people with massive holes to dig out of?
It absolutely does. In my coaching experience, I worked with a young married couple who realized early on that they were completely buried. They had student loans, car payments, and credit cards.
They had it all.
They had it all, and they decided to apply this exact intense focus. They got on a strict written budget, they stopped all unnecessary spending, they picked up extra work, and they lived with that true gazelle intensity.
Yep.
By doing that and staying fiercely committed to the debt snowball, they were able to pay off $159,000 in debt in just one single year.
$159,000 in 1 year. That is staggering.
It completely transformed their financial habits.
Yeah.
And by God's grace, they have now lived completely debt-free for over 15 years. I share that story not to say it's going to be easy or that everyone will have those exact numbers, but as absolute proof that these principles work in real life.
Yeah.
When you align your behavior with biblical wisdom, when you bring intense focus and discipline to the table, the results are life-changing.
That is an incredible testimony, and it really highlights the transformational power of discipline. But as we talk about making these sacrifices, about selling the golf clubs, eating at home, and finding every single extra dollar to throw at the debt, this raises a very sensitive and important question.
Okay.
What about giving? Should a family pause their tithe or their offerings while they're trying to pay off this debt? Because mathematically, if they pause their tithe, they could get out of debt a lot faster.
Yeah.
It is a sincere struggle, and it's a question that weighs heavily on the hearts of many believers who are sincerely trying to do the right thing and clean up their financial mess. But we have to be firm and gentle here. The biblical principle of giving must never be neglected, not even when you are in baby step 2 with gazelle intensity. Returning tithe and supporting God's work, giving to missions, supporting your local church, these are acts of worship.
So even when the budget is incredibly tight, that remains the priority.
Always. Giving first, before you pay the electric bill, before you put a single dollar toward the debt snowball, it reorders your heart.
Yeah.
It is a tangible weekly reminder that everything we have ultimately belongs to God. It breaks the spirit of materialism that got us into debt in the first place. It keeps our priorities aligned with heaven, even during a season of intense debt repayment. We trust God to make the 90% go further than the 100% ever could without his blessing.
That changes your hope fundamentally. It's a statement of faith.
Yeah.
Jesus said in Luke 16:10, he who is faithful in what is least is faithful also in much. If we wait until we are entirely debt-free to start being faithful with God's tithe, we are missing the point of stewardship entirely. We are acting as if we own the money, and we will give God the leftovers once our personal goals are met.
Precisely. A believer's financial life is a testimony to the world. When Christians demonstrate integrity, discipline, and faithfulness with their money, it builds incredible credibility for our message.
Right.
Think about your neighbors. When they see that you live modestly, that you prioritize time with your family, that you are generous to your church, and that you aren't drowning in the same consumer traps as everyone else, it serves as a powerful witness. It shows that our peace comes from Christ, not from a credit limit.
One of the most important financial principles to understand is that eliminating debt isn't just a financial milestone.
Yeah.
It is not just about getting to a zero balance on a spreadsheet so you can pat yourself on the back or post about it online. It is a profound step toward greater freedom to serve God.
Financial freedom, from a biblical perspective, is never about hoarding wealth. It's not about building bigger barns for ourselves so we can sit back and consume more.
Right.
It is about living faithfully. It is about honoring God with every dollar he places in our hands, providing a stable, peaceful home for our families, and leaving a legacy of generosity that will bless future generations long after we are gone.
We have covered so much ground today, from the spiritual weight of debt to the practical steps of the starter emergency fund, the mechanics of the snowball method, and the sheer power of gazelle intensity. We want you to know that breaking the chains of debt is absolutely possible for you.
It really is.
It brings such incredible peace of mind and allows you to breathe again. But as we wrap up our conversation today, we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
We've talked a lot about the math and the mindset of getting out of debt today. We've talked about the deep sacrifices required, saying no to good things so you can achieve something great. But I want you to ask yourself a deeply personal question. If you had absolutely no monthly debt payments starting tomorrow, no car payment, no student loan, no credit card bill, and all of that income stayed in your bank account, What is the very first thing God would be calling you to do with that freed up money to bless someone else?
Wow. That is the true goal of financial freedom right there. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. We hope this conversation has encouraged you, challenged you, and equipped you to take that very first step toward financial faithfulness today. We will catch you next time.